Hi, and welcome to Shoes Off. I'm Justine, and today we're going to talk about, are we really listening? Are we really listening to one another? It's hard to know at times, isn't it? Because we have standard answers that we give. We're kind of listening. We're definitely hearing something. But I recently had a really sad but interesting experience. My grandmother lived to a wonderful, beautiful age of 98. And she passed during this time of COVID, and so it made things really complicated. The long-term care facility that she lived in, unfortunately, had numerous cases of COVID, and she was also subject to an asymptomatic experience of having it, but in fact did have COVID. At 98, I suppose it's okay however your life ends, as long as you don't suffer, and she certainly didn't suffer. But she was transferred out of the long-term care facility to a hospital where she peacefully passed. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get any of her possessions. I had never really thought about how you have to plan around a funeral and all the things that you need to acquire for someone after they've passed. But sure enough, my uncle and I talked, and he said, hey, look, we're going to have to get a dress for her. We're not going to be able to get her own clothes. So off I went to the mall, lined up outside with everybody else, trying to get in because, of course, it was the holidays. As I stood outside, I was reflecting a lot on the life that she had, on the wonderful and absolutely unconditional love she had for me. So there were tears. Even though she's 98, you're crying for yourself at times. But okay, I get into the mall, so let's kind of change this up. You know that I'm sad, you know that I'm distracted, but I get into the mall and I think to myself, I'm just going to get this over with as quickly as I can and find the most elegant, simple black dress so that I can ensure that she's interred and buried honorably. So off I go into the first store, and when I walk in, I say to the woman, hi, my grandmother has just passed away, and unfortunately we can't get her possessions, so it would really be great if you could just help me quickly find something elegant, a black dress, something that she can be interred in. Of course, the woman says, yes, of course, right away. Before I know it, I have 3 salespeople showing me dresses with bling, dresses with big belts, showing me, pulling them in front of me and saying, how about something like this? This one's really festive. Isn't this one pretty? And I repeat myself again. Well, actually, I'm looking for something to bury my grandmother in. She's just passed away. I just need something simple. Before I know it, another dress is brought to me, very simple, very elegant, black knit, and I say, perfect, I'll take it, in a size 12. Now I may be a size 2 or 4. The lady hands me the dress and she says, well, would you like to try it on and see how it fits? I'm perplexed. Why would I want to try on a dress that I'm going to bury my grandmother in? But I chalk it up to, okay, this is just a super weird experience. Let me just pay for this and leave. Now I leave the shopping center and the phone rings, and it's the wonderful lady from the funeral home who calls to say, I'm so sorry to bother you. Hopefully you've been able to find some things for your grandmother. Were you able to find undergarments for her? Now, not to be macabre, but I had never really considered how you'd prepare a body. Well, I certainly did not want my grandmother not to have appropriate undergarments. So back I went to the mall. I line back up again, I go in, and now I'm looking for something that would be suitable for somebody in their 90s to be elegantly and respectfully interred in. Well, the first few stops that I make, I have to tell you, I wasn't sure if I would ever find anything that would be appropriate, and I actually wondered what more elderly people were wearing for undergarments, because the things I saw looked more like they were for a different kind of shoot and not something like what I'm doing right now talking to you. So after I saw a number of different things that were totally inappropriate, I went up to one of the ladies that worked there and said, look, this is quite difficult for me, but I'm actually looking for something. My grandmother has passed away, and I just need to find some respectful undergarments to bring to the funeral home. She says, oh, of course, take a look at this rack over here. I walk over to the rack and I do find some larger looking, more simple looking undergarments. I ask her, do you have something like this, maybe less stretchy, something cottony, something even more simple? She says, no, I don't. And she looks at me and says, "Is that the right size?" So now I think she must really be listening. And I said, "Yes, I think this should be fine." And she says, "Well, we have a 2-for-1 right now." Okay, so once again, I'm kind of laughing to myself in between tears, tiredness, laughing, confusion. But it occurs to me at that very moment, I guess we really don't listen. So having the sense of humor I do, I say, "Well, actually, I think where my grandmother's going, she's not going to need to change her underwear, so I'll just take the one, however you price it." And off I go. But as I left and I really reflected on the experience I had, I wondered, are we really listening to one another? In a time of passing, in a time of despair, in a time where we're all under a lot of pressure, are we really listening? So I leave you with this thought that wherever you are and whatever you're doing, let's stop. Let's not just hear the sounds of our own voices, but let's listen and let's feel what we're actually saying to one another. Because I can tell you, I celebrate the life of my 98-year-old grandmother. She lived beautifully. She was strong. She was vibrant. She rode her bike well into her 80s. She cooked, she gardened, she baked, and she loved me with all her heart. And I know she would have liked me to buy that second pair of underwear because she always liked a good deal. So maybe I should have. But next time that you're somewhere and you find yourself distracted, try to bring yourself back to the moment. Because in that moment, you can deeply connect, not only with yourself, but with someone else's joy, with their pain, with their celebration. But most importantly, you can connect with them. Thank you for listening to today's Shoes Off, and I hope you were listening.